Hey everybody, today on Rahdo Runs Through, I am continuing my top 100 of all-time games countdown. And hi y'all, look, it's me! And my wife is being a camera woman, so she is having fun with holding my phone in her hand. So, in case you're new to this, this is, I think, the 4th episode, or maybe it's the 5th episode now, where I am doing every week, leading up to Christmas week, a countdown of my favorite. I'm doing 60 to 51 this time. And so first of all, if you've missed the earlier, if you want to start at 100 and work your way here, there is a link down in the show notes that will take you to a playlist of this entire series, everything we've recorded up till now. Also, before I continue on, there's another link down in the show notes to the channel of James Wood, who his channel is That Board Game Show. James is an awesome young fella who has taken it upon himself to edit all my videos. So I just want to shout out to James. Go give him some love. He does great stuff. You're about to see. He makes me look so much better than I would if I were editing this video together myself. And now the last thing before we get to number 60 on the list is, in the last episode, I asked people to comment. And oh, did you comment? Everybody needed to weigh in on if they wanted me just to focus on the games or if they wanted more day in the life stuff. Last time I did a very, very thorough deep dive on the kitchen and the cooking situation that we have here in our caravan. For folks who missed it, and I thought maybe I went too much detail. And believe me, a lot of you people think I went into too much detail. There were some very strongly worded opinions about that. I want the games. That's all I'm here for is the games. But I am sorry to anybody who feels that way. You were outvoted like 3-1. By a 3-1 margin, people enjoy hearing about Jen's and my life on the road and getting to open up all the cabinets and find out what's in all our nooks and crannies. So I am going to continue that today. But don't worry. If it bothers you, write down, in the show notes, there is direct links. You can just skip past all this and go right to number 60 and right to number 59 and just get to the parts you want. It's very easy for you to just skip all me blathering about all of this. Because the first thing I'm going to talk about today, since we covered about half of the caravan last week with the kitchen half, now we're going to talk about the living half. And the first thing is, hey, one of the things we do while we're on the road, we play board games. Here's Millennia, Tracks of Time. We just finished an epic, must have been at least 3-hour-long game of it. It was our first play. I won, which is a rarity, which makes me think I did something wrong, but my heavy focus on the purple cards, we figured I got like 36 points out of playing these things because I invested in that. Hey, I'm a hardcore democracy. Jen, late in the game, has dipped into despotism, unfortunately, and it did not save her, even though she is so rich and I am so poor, and she is so cultured and I am not that cultured. But I think those innovations of the purple cards what really pushed it over the top. Oh, and I had invested in more wonders and buildings than she had too. She realizes she made one mistake. She let me buy an in-game scoring thing that would have worked better for her, and she did have first dibs, but she let me buy it. But even still, I think that would probably be in a 20-point delta between us, and I still would have won. Anyway, though, this is what it looks like for us to play games. Again, folks, if you don't care about this, you can just skip to number 60. I'll talk about that in a second. This is what it looks like for us to play. We just finished the game. You can see we've got this table that fits in the closet. We'll show you how it fits in the closet in a bit. Daisy sees some dogs walking by. We have been wild camping throughout Europe, which means what we do is we find off the beaten path places where we can park our caravan and car for free. This is going to be our 3rd night we've been here at this little intersection of canals. We see people, it's Sunday, so people are coming and going all the time. There's a lot of fishermen who come by here. There's a lot of people walking the canals, walking their dogs. There have been horseback riding classes, kids riding horsebacks all around. Daisy did not bark quite so much at the horses as she does with the other dogs. Yeah. And yes, I said horseback, whatever I said. It was probably the wrong thing. It's probably a very bad thing. But yeah, so that's what we do. We occasionally, when we push it really too far and we run out of power, and I'll talk about the power situation a little bit. It's all under my seating arrangement right here are 2 kilowatts of power. If we run out of power, we might go to a paid camp, because then we can overnight recharge all our batteries and recharge water and all of that. But for the most part, we like living off the land, which is what we're doing. And I mean, sometimes Daisy goes crazy seeing people out walking their dogs. And because she would like to be out walking right now, because she just sat here for 3 hours in silence while we played this game that I won. So anyway, this is actually really, really handy. It's one of the reasons I really like this caravan. This game is over, because if we need more table space, we've got it. And if we need less table space, we've got it. In fact, when we have breakfast, we just pull this out and just use this as like a little side table. And this is actually big enough when we pull it out for tiny games. For small games, we can just play this and not have to get out the big, the big table. So, but otherwise, we're just playing games. It's a little tight. What'll happen is if somebody has to go to the bathroom in the middle of the game, if I have to get up and go, I will move the table over to Jen and slide it over so that I can get up and get out. Or Jen, if I have to get, she will move it over to me so she's got room to get out. But otherwise, it's just pretty much a normal gaming situation. These are very comfortable. We'll talk about those in a bit too. But anyway, is there anything else to say about playing games on the road? No, we're moving on. Okay, and that means, folks, you've waited long enough. Number 60 on the list is Fliptown. This is a roll and write. It is not the last roll and write. We're going to have some more of them later on the list, but man, this is designer Steve Aramini's masterpiece. This is so good, and it's so simple and so clean and so elegant. There's so much going on. Well, before I go on, I should say it is going to be replaced, because the sequel to this, Flip Voyage, is even better than Fliptown. But for now, Fliptown takes the number 60 spot. In a nutshell, what is it? We are trying to build up a successful American Old West town, and every round, the game comes with a deck of standard poker cards. Nice looking cards. Every round, 3 cards are going to be drawn. And bingo style, everybody uses those cards to either go mining, to develop the rail lines, to deal with outlaws, to invest in the town, to grave rob, all kinds of things that you might expect to do. And the way you do it is you look at those 3 cards. You pick 2 of them. One of them you pick a number, one of them you pick a suit. So you might say, this is hearts and this is a 3. I'm going to do the 3 of hearts. And that means, I don't know what section it is, but hearts means I can, rob the stagecoach. And with a level 3, that's perfect, because I need a 3 to rob the stagecoach. And now there's one card I didn't use. That last card that I left off to the side is one of the cards that goes into a poker hand that I'm trying to create. Full house, a royal flush, 3 of a kind, whatever it might be. So every round, it is a tough choice of those 3 cards. Oh my gosh, I could actually pull off a full house if I go for that, if I take that 9. But that 9 is also the spades, and it's my only chance to go dig, because the spades let you dig in the mine. Am I going to use it to dig in the mine, or am I going to use it to build a poker hand? I don't know if I'm going to get, it just ups my chances of getting the full house, whereas I'm guaranteed to go digging. This core idea is so simple and elegant and fun, because at the end of 5 rounds of, everybody's doing this at the same time. Everybody sees those 3 cards. They all value them differently based on what their strategies are, based on what try to poker hand they're trying to make. And sorry for the traffic noise. Anyway, at the end of 5 rounds, we're then going to play a round of poker, and everybody sees, well, who has the best poker hand. And there's a bunch of other stuff too. If we do outlaw activities, there's a sheriff who might try to arrest us, and we can set aside resources for that to bribe the sheriff. We can, there's like, what is it? There's 4 different sections of the board. One for the hearts, one for the spades, one for the clubs, and one for the diamonds. Maybe it's diamonds that let you go mining. That makes sense too, I bet. Anyway, it is phenomenal. It just absolutely blew everybody who's played it. I played it with away. I've been really impressed by it. And don't get me wrong. Flip Voyage, the sequel, is better. It's not available yet. I've only played it as a prototype. It's basically a lot of the same stuff, but instead of playing poker, that last card, we're using it in Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, to pilot our submarines around and go exploring and have adventures in Flip Voyage rather than building in Fliptown. They're both excellent games. Actually, when I get Flip Voyage, I'll probably end up keeping both of them, because they're the same box size. They fit very nicely together on the shelf, and probably combined, you could pick either one of them as my number 60 highest ranked game of all time. Okay, and now we're going to talk about something else. So we have put the game away. This is going to go into storage in a bit. We'll talk about game storage. But first of all, the table has been folded up. We have no idea what these snaps are for. They just came with it. But this table came with this caravan, although we've had to add some extra Velcro because when we're not playing games, this lives, or I'm not filming games, this lives in this closet. So let's go in. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in this closet. It's not Narnia, but it's pretty full. So you can see we put a strip of the other side of Velcro here because the Velcro we got on it will hold it tight in place. That slots it down tight below, but then the top would flop around. So now it's not going anywhere because this is industrial strength Velcro. So it is held in place tight because otherwise this just falls over and flops around. So that is our table storage. What else do we have in the closet since we've got it open now? Some hooks for hanging, you know, Jen's purse or what have you, hangers for coats. And this, to make best use of our storage, we bought one of these floppy loose things that had, this is all the clothes Jen and I have with us on the road, which you can see is not very much, but that's okay. We're living wild. Unfortunately, one of the things I looked long and hard to try to find one of these that would have drawers for every single cubby, and they don't. And as you might imagine, in a car, it's not great to have these loose ones because stuff can fall out, but c'est la vie. I think 2/3 of this is Jen's, even though I've got the bigger clothes. I have fewer clothes as well, and less variety. I do have some pajamas, thanks to Becky for that. I have some pajama bombs on a cold day. But normally we have a bucket down here with some extra stuff, but we had to take it out to temporarily store some games. As you can see, oh, it's sagging. It's sagging. And so we have something down there. Here are tripods that I use for lighting in the filming. Here are a bunch of extra game pieces and whatnot, like our things for playing roll and rights. And a backpack in case we are ever out and about and we need a backpack. Now, down here is where I did some surgery because up above us, through there, is a whole bunch of solar. And that solar, you can see there's the hole in the roof that was very nerve-wracking. And the lines come in over here, over to the solar controller. And this then comes down into the wheel well where, oh my goodness, can't see anything. Do you have a flashlight? Thanks, honey pie. Okay, so there is the bus bar that everything comes down into. This also connects over to our house battery, which I'll show a little bit later on. That goes, basically spread throughout the hole there. I've got some fuses to turn on and off various things because I was trying to do all this to the highest spec. But this is the part you're not supposed to look in. But you're getting to see everything in here, folks, including the, here's our heater that runs off of power or, LPG gas. And that's pretty much all that. Now, this could also, we keep talking about it, this could be a place to store secret hidden cargo, Han Solo, Millennium Falcon style. But so far we haven't had to smuggle anything, but we do have extra storage down there in case we need it. I was worried I might use it after Essen if we didn't have enough storage for all our games, so we could have stubbed some down there, but we haven't needed to so far. So that is a tour, I think, of the closet, right? Yep. Nothing more to say. There is the outside of our stove. This keeps us nice and toasty warm. The heater, that's not the stove. This is the stove. That's the space heater. And so that was entry number 2. And now we're going to talk about a game. You've been very patient. And I can't see myself, so Jen will hold the camera while I tell you about number 59, which is Wild Tiled West. Okay, folks. A lot of people love the designs of Paul Dennen, specifically Clank and Dune Imperium. I say, throw those out! Because Paul's greatest achievement, his masterpiece of design, is this fun little dice drafting tile laying game, which totally coincidentally is set in the American Old West. Just weird that it and Fliptown ended up right next to each other on the list. And we're doing Old West stuff. We're we're dealing with outlaws and cattle and heading into town and all that stuff. But the way the game works is it's a polyomino tile layer. Each player gets their own unique territory. that has special rules and powers and all of that, and we're trying to grab the right tiles, by drafting them and, puzzling them all together, polyomino style, to get like big groups of cattle, or, put the sharpshooters to, fight off the banditos and all that kind of stuff. What's interesting about the game, though, is how you get these tiles. There's a whole separate board that's like 3 layers deep, and it holds all the different polyomino tiles. And at the beginning of every round, we roll a bunch of different dice, a 20-sided, a 12-sided, a 10-sided, a D6, I think a D4 even. I think all the dice are there. We roll them, and then whatever they come up with, we put them in slots around the outside of this drafting board where all the polyomino tiles are. And that says, oh, if the D20 rolled a 16, well, that means that tile is available. And if the D6 rolled a 4, that tile is available. And so we roll the dice, and that says what we are going to be able to draft this round. And I'm desperate for a given tile, but the dice say, oh, you can't have that tile. Sorry, you got to figure something else out, maybe next round. Although, of course, there's ways to mitigate luck and all of that, as you might imagine. But it's that draft that makes it really, really compelling. In the last one, I talked a bit about, the extreme restriction that subdivision puts you under. With, again, that die that says, oh, this is what you're zoned to build this round. You could break the law if you want and, suffer the consequences, but you have to work within these constraints. This game takes that idea, but with, I forget what it is, it's like 4 or 5 dice that create the constraints you find yourself in round after round. So that combined with really clever design of the territory maps, because they're so radically different, and each player is almost, they're not truly asymmetrical. We're all playing the same game, but it makes all of us value the tiles that are available to in a given round very, very differently. And so it makes the draft really, really compelling and exciting. This game is a blast. Jen and I fell in love with it the first time we played it. And again, sure, Dune Imperium is nice. Yeah, Clank is lovely. But they cannot hold a candle to Paul Denon's masterpiece. Number 59 on the list is Wild Tiled West. Okay, let's continue on. Although I'm flying solo, as you can see, the pups and Jen are gone because like I said, I think I said up front, we're kind of hanging out at a canal. Right around the corner on the canal out there, there's a bunch of canal boats. Also, just living off the land. And Jen met a nice lady in one of them the other day, and they went for a walk together. And now Jen has gone over to have tea, as Jen is much more social and outgoing than I am. But that gives me freedom to keep on talking and reveal all our deepest dirty secrets, which Jen is never a fan of me opening doors, because I'm about to open more doors. And then we'll talk about number 58. So let's see. Here was the closet we just talked about. Opposite it is a nice little counter with some stuff. This is just more stuff we have to have at the ready. A hat for Jen, these headbands that will allow us to see as we walk the dogs at night. This is very important. This is a remote control that lets us drive this caravan around by itself. It is self-propelled. That's a pretty cool feature. And let's see, flashlights, thing of dog treats if we just need them at the ready, some extra change, and avocado, I guess. Right, and some tea. Let's see. Oh, the Velcro. We've been putting this hardcore heavy stick-on, heavy-duty Velcro all over the place or in lots of useful ways. And and then let's see. This is a power outlet to charge Jen's computer. As you can see, we have American stuff, so we have to have this adapter off this British adapter because this is a British caravan. Here's Jen's favorite tea mug in the world. But let's go in here. What have we got? I'm not quite sure. Oh, some various supplements and whatnot. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of sad news. These are the road decorations we used to have all the time, but one of them fell over and lost its comb, the crazy chicken. So Jen wants to glue it back, and in the meantime, we've been joined by these crazy birds over here that you can barely see because of how bright it is outside. But anyway, let's see. It's a chicken cup. There's a chicken cup full of pens. Trust me, it's in there. Hey, you always want to have duct tape and scotch tape and bandages and whatnot in this. There's some blue tack in there. Just, some Kleenexes and whatnot, a shopping bag in case we need it really quick. So that's a pretty simple one, nothing too exciting in there. Over here, what have we got? We've got a drone. Now, we haven't really had much use for the drone. We actually used this back when we were in our big motorhome and we would winter in Mexico. Because, again, we would live off the land while we were down south of the border, but often there were all these off the beaten paths that we could go to get to a beach, but we weren't sure if the motorhome could make it all the way on these rough Mexican roads. So we got this drone, and we would just fly, because it has a range of up to a mile, I think, and it could fly ahead, and we could reconnoiter and make sure the drone, or the motorhome would be able to make it. We brought this along, but so far we have not needed it. So it's just stayed in here. Probably needs to be recharged. And below, next to that, there's a couple of lights, which I set up, I use for filming to try to control the lighting in here. If you've noticed, my run-throughs for the last couple months have not looked as good as normal because it's just hard to control the light. I bought a couple of lights. I'll set up, the next time I film, run through, which is probably going to be a run through for this, I will include showing how I set up to actually film, including getting these lights out. And let's see. Oh, this is all this stuff is Jen's jewelry. When we were at Essen Spiel, Jen was selling her glasswares, and this is most all of it: the findings, the fittings, the her price list. The actual glass is in this, and there's more of it over here. So that's what is in this. Oh, and then this is just one of those pillows you can use to, like, if you're lying down and you want to not have to hold up your iPad or whatnot, you can sit on this triangular pillow. But mainly, it's just keeping these lights from jostling around while we drive. Then we've got Jen's sleeping bag and a couple of extra blankets, her pajamas, and then, let's see, I think there's some other stuff. There's like one of the USB fans and just some other stuff stored in this area that we don't generally need. I think there's some more of her, what do you call it? More of her glassware. Like, the Rahdo runs through Everdell promos that if you ever buy stuff from Jen at a show, you get Everdell promos that are exclusive, that say Rahdo runs through on them and stuff like that. Anyway, though, so that's pretty much it for this. Talking about the, I could now talk about sleeping arrangements because a sleeping bag lends to talking about it, but let's that be the next entry because you've waited long enough, folks. Let's talk about number 58. On the list, if I can remember what it is, Phoenix New Horizon. This is a game that just came out, I think, last year, so it's one of the newer games on the list, and it is phenomenal. It is a worker placement game set, after, a kind of Fallout-esque 50s Americana post-apocalypse type situation. You could almost expect, Pip-Boy in the Vault to be in this game as people are trying to rebuild after the apocalypse. But what really makes it stand out is it is a worker placement game, and it's a worker placement game that I guess you could say is kind of crossed with a tech track, because the worker placement board, where you send your workers out to harvest the resources or develop technologies to work your way up actual tech trees, or just initiate the actions to rebuild power stations and settlements out on the map, and deal with all the normal stuff you would expect there, area control elements and area majority elements, and having objectives to build in certain places, and hey, I could build a power station and that means you could build a settlement and I'd get a benefit because you're using my power station, all that kind of stuff. But what really makes the game sing is the worker placement, because at the beginning of the game, all your workers are down at the bottom middle of this worker placement board. And what you're going to do is you are going to send a worker either to the left or to the right, and randomly, the board is peppered with all the different actions. So every time from game to game, the worker placement slots are going to be scattered around this board all differently. But at the beginning of the game, your workers can only do these level 1 actions, but you can promote them. So if they go over to the left, then they could work their way up to the next level where there are more powerful actions. And then they could live there for a while and just do those actions. There aren't as many of them. They're much more powerful. And now this worker is limited because it's like they've gone up one branch of a tech tree and now they get access to these actions. And you might say, okay, I don't need this eventually. How about you move up to the next level, or in this direction or this direction, because you'll get access to a different grouping of actions. And as you go higher and higher, you have access to fewer and fewer actions, but they're more and more powerful. The basic ones are still down at the bottom, but you've got multiple workers. You might have one worker who's just up at the top, but he has to have some low-level workers do some stuff before he could do his action. And when the workers finally make it all the way to the top, that's where you can get the really big, powerful objective scoring tiles that will, be like the centerpiece of your overall strategy. But once they've made it all the way to the top and they've activated one of those and gotten one of those objective tiles, they come crashing all the way back down, because it's like they've retired and now I've hired a new level 1 worker who has to work their way up, and maybe they'll go back up the same way, up the same path of the worker placement tree, or they'll go up a different way. That's what it is. It's worker placement mixed with a tech tree. It's a worker placement tree. And it's really, really cool. And, I mean, that's the main stuff. There's a lot you could talk about. This is a big game with a lot of moving parts, with a ton of setup playability, variability with all the, the variety of how the worker placement stuff is and the objectives. And it's just great. You can go watch my run through if you want to see it in action. By the way, folks, down in the show notes, there are links to videos for all of these games. So if I piqued your interest, you can watch me play them and get a sense for what I'm talking about. But I think that should give you an idea of what makes new publisher Pero Loco's Phoenix New Horizons stand out, so much so that it makes my top 100 of all time. Okay, now let's move on. Let's talk about how we arrange sleeping, because actually the way it's supposed to work is we've got these two separate for daytime and playing games like you saw, and this slides out all the way out, all the way to the edge. And then we're supposed to have these big backing cushions that we can take and flip and put here. And it turns this whole thing into a decent sized, it's not quite a queen size bed, but a bed with a lot of space, and we can just sleep. Jen and I, we actually took this caravan out for a 1-week road trip, sleeping like that, sharing the same bed, which my wife and I, we've been married for decades now, and we're very comfortable and very happy to sleep in the same bed for all the reasons one might imagine. But we found we did not like it here. It was big and roomy, and there's room for the dogs and all of that, because again, this makes a huge amount of space. But we are not accustomed to having to crawl over each other to get out of bed in the middle of the night if we're thirsty, or if we have to go to the bathroom, or if the dogs need to go out or something like that. And when you go this way, we had to sleep, head to foot. We had to sleep this way, long ways. And it was just kind of a pain. We've never really slept. So we ultimately decided for this big, 3-month trip we're on now that we weren't going to do that. So we left those really big cushions that slip in between this central area. We left them at home because they took up a lot of space and they really weren't comfortable. That's why we've got a bunch of super comfy pillows that we use for leaning back and all that while we're playing games. So we left those cushions at home. We pretty much never pull this thing out, and we just have two bunk beds that are parallel to each other. We're not crazy about it. We're looking forward to getting home and getting back into our big super bed, but it works really well for the situation we're in right now. Although here's the weird thing. I'm 6'3". Jen is 5'2", but Jen sleeps in this bed that is actually longer. This bed is, I think, like a foot shorter because it makes room for this, the closet right here. So this one's shorter, whereas this one, again, has like a good, at least half a foot, if not a foot of extra length. Why am I, the short guy, squeezing on here? Because my wife has this thing where she needs to sleep with one arm way up like this. If she can't sleep like this, she just can't go to sleep. So she needs the extra space. But to be fair, she's also having both dogs. I mean, she's sharing this thing, with her head over there, her arm up, and the dogs, we put the dog bed on the ground at night and they sleep curled up around her feet, and she just barely fits. I don't fit over here. What has to happen? Let me see if I can pull the camera out. I can show you. So, I sleep out of the way, laptop. With my head up here, we move. These are actually our sleeping pillows, which are the most comfy pillows in here. And as you might imagine, the dogs love those and would like to snuggle up on them, and that's where they want to spend all their time. So we have to cover this so that our head pillows are not covered with dog fur because they shed. So anyway, these come out at night, and I come over here, and so it's fine. I'm sleeping, but as you can see, I'm kind of curled up a little bit. But what I do is, I've got those two pillows there, and I take that blanket and make it a bit more of a ramp so that actually I've got this kind of, my legs kind of go up a little bit like this. And I can, as you can see, I can fit. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but I'm 6'3". My entire life, I have spent always sleeping in places where I have to curl up. I do it without even thinking. I do it unconsciously. So this is okay with my feet just kind of, coming up a little bit on this shelf over here. Meanwhile, Jen is, opposite me. Actually, she puts her head down there so we can look up at each other and, make eye contact. If there's something in the middle of the night that goes bump, we can just, what is it? And we can see each other. So that works out pretty nice. The dogs are happy. We're happy. Like I said, we're looking forward to sleeping in a full-size bed again, but this is working for life on the road. So I think that's all there is to say on that topic. Sleeping arrangements. So let's move on to number 57 of the super list. Strange World Above the Clouds. And now I am very sorry. This is another one I'm putting on the list that's just going to make you miserable because I'm going to say how amazing and great it is and you're not going to be able to get a copy of it. It had a very, very small print run. I think it came out a couple of years ago. Maybe it was last year at Essen Spiel. It's basically just a small deck of cards and some tokens. And it's one of those games like a Castle Combo, which I talked about in a previous list, where you're just trying to draft cards and find combos between them. This is one of those things where you're laying the cards that you draft into a little 4x4 grid. Super tight grid, super tough choices. The drafting is very simple, straightforward. Hey, at the beginning of a round, we draw 3 cards. I keep one, hand the 2 over. If I'm playing a 2-player with Jen, I'm going to get that other one back, or I get another one from another player. One thing, though, that's very different that I wish more of these card drafting games would do. Everybody follows the 7 Wonders Sushi Go style thing where, hey, everybody gets a card, and then everybody simultaneously reveals a card, and everybody plays their card, and then hands the rest around. That's not how this game works. It's much cooler that everybody, gets their card, keeps it secret, hands the hand over, and then takes the next one. So ultimately, we're going through a closed hand draft. We ultimately end up getting 3 cards. The last card is handed to me. I don't have a choice on the last one. But now, after we've done this very quick draft, which is best at 2-player because, hey, I know of the 2 I'm giving, one of them is coming back, and I could be thinking about that the whole time. So I recommend it. I think it would work at any player count. But then, now we've got our 3 cards, and we will try to figure out how best to jigsaw puzzle them together. We don't have to make commitments to cards, right after we select them, not knowing for sure what cards we're going to get in the rest of the draft. This is so much better. Why isn't this the standard? Why has 7 Wonders made it so that most of these drafting games, you have to play immediately and then hope you get? I think this gives you a little bit more control, which you need, because this is a game of really... Again, I guess this is the kind of theme for this particular episode. Harsh, limiting restrictions that create really tough choices to make. A 4x4 grid is already tough to build in, but there are all kinds of rules about what can and cannot be built next to each other. What happens if you put certain things in? You can actually, if you'd be forced, whether you want to or not, because you've got these 3 cards, you've got to play them all. You might create a volcano, but then that volcano could be a place for a really cool volcano city. If all else fails, when you get these cards, okay, I can't play this one. There's no place I can play this because of the restrictions of how lakes have to be next to other or away from lakes and all that kind of stuff. You can always just play them face down. And then they're this cool looking little tar creature monster that is negative points. Unless you can make that part of your strategy and actually turn those monsters into positive points if you can kind of build the environment towards them. So there's a lot that goes in. It's a very quick game. Like I said, we're just drafting 16 cards to build a 4x4 grid, over a few rounds. But it's that insanely tight set of restrictions and the really smart approach to closed hand drafting where I don't have to commit to how I play these cards until I know all the cards I'm going to have available. That really elevates this above. I could talk about all the ways that different ones score. There's certain cards that you can grab that let you put them on the outskirts, and now I've created objectives where I must put these types of cards in this particular row. But as you might imagine, that just creates more problems for me to solve as I try my best to build the best Strange World Above the Clouds in number 57 on the list. All right, what are we going to talk about next? We've opened Jen's cabinets. Let's just come over and open up my cabinets now, shall we? All right, let's start with this one, where there is an AM/FM radio, which we have no use for, and it really annoys me that every time we do turn on the internal power, if we need to use the water pump or we need to use the lighting, this thing turns on as well, and it's just wasting power. When we get back home, I'm probably just going to remove it because this is just wasted space. In fact, actually, I think what I do want to do, because this does have stereo lines that come out to these speakers. And let's see, jumping ahead a little bit, you can see we have an Alexa unit, an Amazon Echo that we use for music and whatnot. I might take all this out, but then wire it up so that the Alexa can come in through these speakers. That might be a nice thing, but that's that's a next year project. We're certainly not going to try and do that while we're on the road. What else is in here besides this huge waste of space? This is a bag of, some electronics and whatnot, things I need in extreme, extra headphones and extra cables, an extra tempered glass for my phone, because you can't see, my phone has, I've got a glass protector, it's broken, I need to replace it with this one, and just some other general purpose things that I almost never need, but if I do, I've got them in this bag. But then we've got the bane of my existence. This is what I film with. This is how I do my overhead camera, and I'll show you later how I hook it up here and then film what's on the table that you saw at the beginning of this video. And the rest of the time, it does, coil up fairly nice. It doesn't take up much space, and it just goes in here. And then all these cables flop around, and I've only got one hand, so this is very difficult, and I should not be bothering this right now. There's a backup selfie stick, which I hate, because the selfie stick I'm actually using, this one right here, is excellent, and I bought it super cheap years ago, but then I thought I'd lost it, so I bought this other one that's more expensive and is garbage, and then I was happy I found this one, yay! But anyway, I've got a backup selfie stick in case I need it for filming stuff like this. This is my here's my microphone I'm recording with. This is all the accessories and whatnot, like cables to plug it into a computer. The little wind noise canceling things are in here. There's also a Bluetooth mouse in that bag that I use, which again, we'll get into all that stuff when I actually show you how I actually film on the road. Now I've got a couple of Carcassonne boxes. They're just full of cables. Mostly USB cables. Here's a little extra inverter that I can plug into the cigarette lighters. There's one here. There's one over there that I can use if I just need some AC power off the cigarette lighters for something. Just cables, and adapters and whatnot. So that's what's in that one. And then in this one, hey, here's my sleeping bag. And here is my pride and joy. I would not be able to make this trip without this. This is a Mars 3 Nebula projector, and it is fantastic. Every night is movie night here in this caravan. I'll set up, in this video a little bit later and show you how awesome it is to be able to watch TV shows on the road with this thing, which it has. I mean, this is actually made for going out and camping trips and whatnot, and using it in the forest, I guess. But it's got, was it 150 watt battery or 185 watt hour battery, which will give us about 4.5, if I leave the Wi-Fi off, it'll give about 4.5 hours of uninterrupted video, which is more than enough for an evening or two before I have to recharge this thing using the power system that I promise I will show you soon. You kind of saw a little bit of it in the closet back there. But anyway, this lives in here the rest of the time with its remote and all of that. And then back in this corner, this is where we have our extra toilet paper. This is basically just stuffed full of camping grade toilet paper, which if people ever use this, it's not the greatest, but it works, it's okay, and it does not clog up our toilet system. Folks, you need to tell me, do you want details about the toilet system? It's a chemical toilet. I could go into great detail because I am an expert at it now. You'll have to let me know if that's the ultimate example of too much information. So anyway, that's what's up in here. And, one more thing I should say. We have these during the day because the dogs jump up here and sometimes they have muddy paws or whatever, and, they shed. So this is just what we sleep on, or, what we sit on. At night, these come off and we throw them up, where the sleeping bags come down and these go up. And underneath, we've got a nice, this is, what we basically have here is the original cushion and a nice, I think like 2.5 inch thick cushion topper. Because we've slept on this, it's okay, but having this topper and then this kind of velour thing that we actually sleep directly on, that the dogs don't get to sleep on, and we've got 4 of these so we can swap them out, and then wash the ones whenever we're at a laundromat, we can swap them out and all that. And then in the morning, these come back on and we go about our day. So I forgot that was another element of the sleeping situation. I am not going to try and stuff that thing back in there because it's very loose and floppy, and you've been very patient waiting for me to talk about number 56 on the list, Dungeon Petz. Now this one for the longest time was in my top 10 games of all time and then in my top 20. But when I did the super revamp, which I talked about back in the first episode of this series, and completely reconfigured how I rate games, it came crashing down. And there's only one reason. Length, length, length. This is an awesome game, one of the greatest worker placement games of all time. Simultaneous action selection where we're families of imps who are running a dungeon pet shop trying to grow cute little cuddly animals. So that we can sell them to dungeon masters who have very specific needs about whether they want scary monsters or cuddly monsters or farty monsters, whatever it might be. And it's a brilliant game. Don't be fooled. It looks like a really light, almost like a kid's game. This is one of the heaviest worker placement games you'll ever play. It's a very deep, crunchy simulation where everybody in secret decides how you are going to set up your bundles of workers, whether they're going to go out in groups of 1, 2, or 3, and whether they're going to take extra coins, because it's kind of like a simultaneous bidding auction thing where whoever has the biggest group gets out quicker. Whoever has coins gets access to more stuff. And then, once everybody reveals how they've configured their troop that's going to go into town and get stuff, turn order is resolved, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up what you want to take care of your pets. But then once you've got the pets and you've got the cage and you've got the food and you've got everything they need, you've got to meet their needs. It's almost like this game does a great job of replicating the feel of a Tamagotchi simulator, because these animals have needs. You can somewhat predict what they want, so you can know if they're going to need food or if they're going to need playtime or whether they're going to need alone time or whatever it might be. But the better you can meet their needs, the happier and healthier they will be as they grow over the course of rounds, and eventually you can enter them in kind of like Crufts. Like dog competitions, get their monster competitions, and ultimately you can get awards, and then you can sell them and, invest in your business and all of that. It's a phenomenal game, and this would probably still be in my top 20 of all time if it weren't also a very, very long game. And these days, Jen and I find we just have less time and less attention, less brain power to put into incredibly long games like this, which is what has brought it crashing all the way down to, number 56 on the list. Still, one of the all-time greats. My apologies that my run-through is one of my old ones with with the mobile cam, and I know people can't have it because I covered it a long time ago, but it is worth checking out. It's a game that every hardcore board gamer should at least play once in their life to experience, because it's really something special. Number 56, Dungeon Petz. Number 55 is up next, but before we do, let's open more drawers, shall we? Here we've got this center console. You actually already saw one part of it, this thing that just slides out to give us an extra table, or basically gives us a table that we can eat at and whatnot. But then below it, we've got some more stuff. What's in here? Oh, just all kinds of stuff. Earplugs, reading glasses, nursing skin cream, bag of receipts. Very, very important for tax purposes because, hey, this is a tax-deductible trip, folks, because of this video right now. We can deduct a lot of stuff because I'm using it as my place of business. It's becoming part of my videos. I'm doing this tour. So, of course, we got to save all our receipts for, the ferry and whatnot. And, a hot water bottle, which Jen brought. It turns out we haven't needed it at all because that heater down there just does a phenomenal job of keeping us warm, burning almost no gas at all. So I don't think we've ever had to use this at all. And, some other stuff. Hey, what do you call it? I love these things. The biggest problem I have getting old, now that I'm in my late 50s, I'm kind of over the hill now, that I've noticed ever since the 40s is receding gums and how food just gets stuck. When I was a kid, I never flossed. I didn't care. When I was in my 20s and my 30s. But by the time I got to my late 40s and my 50s, I cared a lot. And I carry these with me everywhere to keep food from getting, stuck. I've got these in my wallet. I've got them in the car. I've got them here. I've got them in the bathroom. I've got them in almost every room at home too. And if you hang out with me enough, sooner or later, I'm just going to start doing this. Because chances are there's still something stuck somewhere in there with my old man gums. Nobody likes getting old, but that's the worst part of it. Let's see, down below this, we've got Jen's laptop, which she doesn't use. I use my laptop all the time, but Jen uses hers every once in a while. She spends more of her time on her phone. And then also, there are power cables. We've got a a power strip what's plugged into this? The power outlet so this thing can charge while it's in the drawer, and also another line that comes out that we can plug the projector, because when we set up to watch TV shows or movies, we put the projector right here, and so there's a power cable that comes right out and just keeps it plugged. And then this plugs in over here, and so when we turn on the power for the caravan, we make the power outlets live, then this becomes live, and this can start charging, and the projector can start charging. Here's Jen's mouse she uses, and I think that's pretty much all that's in there is some power cables. And then down below here, surprise! Games. Games. But there's plenty more where that came from. Let's see. Before we move on, let's say what's above here. Because you'll notice we've got some shelves. This is recharging central station. Because, in addition to this that has those outlets plugged in, we've got this that runs down to one of my power sources below my bed. And it's just got a whole bunch of USB cables. So what do I charge here? Well, this is the recharging kit for this wireless mic I'm using right now. Got to keep that charged up. This is the recharge station for that thing right there, my little fitness. I don't wear a Fitbit, I don't wear a watch, I just wear this ring to keep track of my heart rate and my stress levels and my sleep levels and all of that. So this is the thing that charges that ring up after a couple of weeks when it is getting low. This is a pair of earbuds that after Jen goes to sleep and I keep watching shows, I put these earbuds in so that I'm not keeping her awake when I'm watching movies or scary shows or whatever. So there's that. There's these earbuds, which I use, which are paired to the phone I'm recording with right now. So if I'm just watching YouTube and whatnot on my phone after Jen goes to sleep, I use these so she doesn't have to listen to it. Let's see. This is a 120 watt, power bank that we can use. If somehow we do find ourselves needing some more power, it's just always good to have more. Just keep this charged up. Here's the Alexa we talked about earlier. Here's my bib, which basically, if I'm eating while I'm lying down watching a show, I'm gonna make a mess and spill some stuff on my shirt. So I just have this at the ready to put over. So it's a handy dandy bib. This is the most important one though. This is a pair of earbuds that are also wired to this phone, so I can use them to watch YouTube or listen to music or podcasts or whatever. But more importantly, I never use them for that because these are the things that keep me sane. My wife, between you and me folks, snores prodigiously. She snores like a Warner Brothers cartoon character. She snores like, I can't think of Yosemite Sam. As silly and as outrageously over the top exaggerated as Mel Blanc did for Yosemite Sam, that's what my wife snores like. And it's been going on for years. She's tried everything. She's tried nose stoppers, things to hold her tongue down, and just nothing ever stops it. And so finally, when I stumbled across these, I put these in, and they've got they're Bluetooth and all that, but instead I've just uploaded some very specific brown noise sound that works for me. I just put these on and I just don't hear a thing. And I couldn't sleep without them now because I'm addicted to these things. They just put me right to sleep, and Jen can sleep peacefully and I can sleep peacefully. And she does no longer has to be, really self-conscious about her snoring, and I can make it through the night. What are these? These are Soundcore A20s, I believe. And in fact, actually the first pair of these I got, they developed a problem and I contacted them and they sent me out replacements so I can vouch. I mean, this is not sponsored by Soundcore, folks, but I love these things. These are a marriage saver. It was getting to the point where sometimes Jim was going so bad and I needed sleep so bad, I would go sleep in the guest bedroom. But now I haven't had to do that for a couple of years because these things keep us both sane. So if you or someone you love has this problem, I recommend this highly. Oh my gosh, so much. We tried so many things, chin straps that would wrap around her head and whatnot. And I tried different things too, all kinds of different, but ultimately these are the ones, they fit my ears perfectly. I can control them just by tapping on them, and I can sleep through the night. So that's what's over there. This is a little stand I use to put my phone on at night, and I put a phone app because I need to get. We had a nice little alarm clock, but it fritzed out, so I'm ordering another one. But in the meantime, I use this to hold my phone up at night so I can see what time it is. This is a mosquito light, which doesn't work at all. We bought this because Can you see the little light string on? They're supposed to zap mosquitoes. It does not. It's useless for that. But it is actually a very, very nice light. You can go through 3 settings. So rather than turning on the 15 watt an hour overhead lights, we just use this at night, and it lights up the area well enough. And I mean, this thing will last for days on a single charge, and then when I need to, I just put it in charging central over here and just recharge it back up. Right, so there's that, and what else is there? Oh, there's Jen's sleeping mask. There's mine back there, because if one or both of us wants to sleep in, I mean, the reason we got this caravan is because it's so bright and light with all these windows all over the place. But that means when the sun rises, we got to get up. That's what these are for. They are lifesavers too. Oh, and then some little stuff. I think Jen made both of these felt stuffed things. I don't know where she got this chicken. Maybe she made it too. I don't think she did make that. And then there's a little Paddington bear. This is very important. This was Jen's stepmom, or her father and stepmom, for years. They lived nomadic RV lifestyle. After they retired from being a professor and a high school teacher, they spent years on the road and told Jen all kinds of stories. She saw pictures. That's what made her want to do what we're doing now. And everywhere they went, they took this little Paddington with them. This Paddington has been all around the world. When they stopped doing that, but we started, Jen's stepmom gave this to us and said, keep it with you. Paddington always kept us safe. And so we keep Paddington with us wherever we go. Like I said, there's a lot of mosquitoes where we're staying at right now. This Afterbite does an okay job. It's not great, but if I feel an itch at night, I just reach for this in the dark, or turn this on, and so I can find it. And so I think that's everything we've got. Jen doesn't really have anything over there. Already talked about the pillows. So let's talk about a game, shall we? Number 55 on the list is Elysium. And oh man, this is maybe my biggest heartbreaker on the list because this is a phenomenal card drafting tableau building game. The crux of it is, I don't remember if it's Greek mythology or Roman mythology. I'm pretty sure it's Greek mythology. Where is the Elysium? Who is Ares? I'm pretty sure that's all Greek, right? Anyway, though, we are, a pantheon of gods trying to oversee what the mortals are doing, and we're drafting cards that, let us tamper in their affairs, meddle in their affairs, as we tend to do when we're a pantheon of gods. Anyway, so we grab cards, and when we grab them, we play them to the top of, I think it's called our Elysium board. Basically, that cuts our personal area in half. We put them on the top, and that means they are active. That means they represent the mortals that we are looking out for, going about their day-to-day lives, engaging in wars if we happen to be Aries. Maybe that works for us, or whatever it might be. Just trying to be prosperous and us trying to do the best, trying to create nice combo chains out of the cards we play above our Elysium board. But here's the thing: the most important action we can do in this game, occasionally we can take these mortals and move them below our board. And what that means is they have transcended. They are joining us on Mount Olympus, I guess. They're in the Elysian fields, and they're having the great afterlife. And they convert from being action generating cards into end-game objective cards. And that's always something I love. When you have to sacrifice something that's really, really important to you, like you've got a really great combo going with these particular cards, but the game is coming close to an end. I need to start converting these things into points instead. I always love it, and this game is one of the best examples of it ever. And the reason I say it's so sad is because publisher Space Cowboys, they have been sitting now for almost a decade on an amazing expansion for this. This game, another thing that's really cool about it is every time you play, it's going to be a different combination of gods. That means you get a different group of cards, kind of like smash up style, and you smash all these different cards together, and then you start drafting them and all of that. So you get a different feel every time you play, right? And so I think the game comes with 5 sets of cards, one of them being the one we never want to use because it's for Ares and it's war and attacking and stuff like that. But the other ones, Artemis or Aphrodite or for whoever all they are. So, the designers, they have designed and fully play-tested a full expansion of this that would add another, 5 or 6 different factions that would give so much more replayability to this. And it's been done. And frickin' Space Cowboys, the publisher, has been sitting on it now, like I said, for almost a decade. And where is it, Space Cowboys? There are multiple threads on this on Board Game Geek where everybody, eventually, they discover how amazing this game is. It's one of the greatest card tableau building games of all time. And the only thing you find yourself wanting is more stuff. And then they find out, oh my God, there is more stuff. And so there are petitions aplenty. And yet they've never done it. I think now Matt Dunstan and Brett Gilbert, the designers, I'm pretty sure that they were the two designers of it. They've gotten the rights back. And I've talked to Matt. Is that right? Or I forget. I've talked to one of them about it at Eston Spiel this year, and they said, yeah, maybe something's coming, but it'd be like, oh, redoing the base game. And I'm like, no, I just want an expansion for the game I've already got. But if need be, I will get rid of my game I've already got. I will trade it away to get a new version with new stuff. Don't get me wrong. The game doesn't need it. It's coming in at number 55 on my list, as is. It doesn't need more stuff. I just wants it, my precious. I must have it. And it's been denied us for almost a decade now. What is going on with number 55, Elysium? Okay, let's see what's under these beds, shall we? You can see I've cleared Jen's bed, put all her stuff over there so that I can get in here. Although there's two ways to get in here. There's the way you're supposed to, where you just come down here and you flip this and you see that Jen has organized a bunch of stuff in tubs. So if you're looking for a particular thing, you just pull the tub out. But I'm not going to do that right now because I've only got one hand. Why have I cleared this up? Because I'm just going to lift up the hood. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. And it stands up. And here's all the stuff that's under there. And I can lift this up too. Boom. Hey, what's over there? A whole bunch of games. Remember I peeked that open? And you can see there were games in there. Oh, there's games and games and games and games. Tons of games. Although that's about half of all the games we've got with us on the road. All of those down there. This is all the stuff I brought from Essen. If you look out to the car, I don't know if you can see it. There is a car box on top of our car that is the other half or maybe 2/3 of the games out there. I'll show you. Do you folks want to see the car? Because I think I asked, do you want to see what's in that bathroom? Do you want a tour of that? Also, do you want a tour of the car, including how I've stored games in there and how the power works and, and all that. Anyway, though, what is under Jen's bed? Let's take a look. We've got some hiking shoes. If we are going to go on any kind of really super, heavy-duty hikes instead of just using our regular sneakers. We've got this is a vacuum cleaner, which we definitely need when you're in a caravan with two dogs that shed. It's just a little multi-piece thing. It comes apart. It's nothing special, nothing fancy. And if we need to, we can charge it back up after, usually about once a week we're getting this thing out and just, given like the carpet I'm standing on and, all the nooks and crannies, a good clean with this thing. And you can see, it needs to be charged again because it's down to only one. So what I do is, a lot of these things I charge on driving days because that's another thing I can show you in the car, how I charge things like this while we're on the road. Anyway, so there's that. I don't know what's in this thing. I literally don't know. Oh, it's, Jen was very ambitious when we set out. This is fitness stuff. There's like some, those elastic resistance bands and stuff like that. Because Jen's like, okay, we're going to start exercising again. We used to do it and we're going to start doing it again. We haven't done it. Pretty much every time when we're not just relaxing or reading or whatnot, we're playing games. But it is here, and you've all seen it, so maybe that will shame us into action. This is an IKEA bag with just dirty clothes, which, we can open the door and then just stuff the clothes in here. We did laundry before this stopped, so there's not much in here at the moment. Back here, there's just like some odd tools. Here's the duct tape. I knew it was in here somewhere. And some two-sided tape and there's some other, like real old-fashioned tools in case we, have to do any kinds of repairs or what have you. And let's see, what is this? I think this, my wife, she's a knitter. And I think this is full of, no. The knitting stuff is tucked up in there. I think my wife is also a painter. And she had dreams while we're on the road. She brought this. This is like a little collapsible easel and stuff like that Jen could actually do some painting. We have not done it yet. But it's here, and she found a way to, put it all in our old Pearl Games bag. And what's in this thing? I genuinely do not know. A lot of that, this is under Jen's bed. I don't know what's under here. Oh, okay. Hey, it's the medicine. Do not go to Essensfield without having these in your back pocket because they will keep your throat from exploding. And, again, more bandages and, yeah, it looks like, some various and sundry things, in case you need to express any anal glands on your dogs while you're on the road, always good to have some of these at the ready. And cold and flu stuff. I guess that's the medicine box down there. So that is what all is underneath Jen's bed. And next up, we'll talk about what's under my bed. But before we do that, we will move on to number 54, Hamburg. Now, some people are going to cry foul. How dare I put Hamburg? Because this is one of the games in publisher. You know what? That sun is pretty bright. Let's put this all back down and sit over this side. There we go. That'll do. Okay, that's better for you folks. Hamburg is one of many Steffenfeld redesigns where he's taken an old classic, in this case Bruges, made tweaks to it, adjusted it, added new concepts and ideas to it, and then it's been rethemed around a city in the world. Bruges was, for a lot of people, one of Feld's best. But honestly, Bruges did not make my personal top 10. At the end of the day, I really struggled with the luck of the draw in that game. As much as I didn't want to, I found it frustrating. My wife liked it a lot. What is it? We used to be building up the city of Bruges. Now we're building up the city of Hamburg with maybe one of the ultimate examples of multi-use cards, because each card you get in this game can be used, if I recall correctly, in like 9 unique different ways. Whether it becomes the foundation of a building you're building, it used to be a house where you're going to house somebody, or it's the actual building. It used to be a person in Bruges. Now it's an actual building, famously from Hamburg, or they are ways to recruit workers. They are ways to make progress on different progress tracks. Every one of the cards you get in this game, it's a huge puzzle of trying to figure out how best to use them, because they can be used in so many different ways. And the way you get the new cards is you just draw them blind. And it used to be you drew them totally blind. And by the way, each card has 5 different colors, so it affects where it can be built, what section of the city. It affects all kinds of stuff. So not only were there 9 different uses, but 5 different suits available with them as well. So a huge amount of puzzly goodness in this game. But it used to be you just drew them completely blind and hope for the best. The thing I love about Hamburg, which, by the way, you can retroactively apply, there's Jen, you can apply these rules back to Bruges if you want, is they changed it so that all the suits are in their own separate piles, so you don't know exactly what you're drawing, but you know what suit you're getting. And that's a huge improvement. But there are other huge improvements to this game. I would not want to go back to Bruges. And now, again, for some people, that is blasphemy, because there's no denying it. Bruges is a prettier looking game with art by Michael Menzel. Hamburg looks okay. It doesn't look great. It looks okay, and it only suffers by comparison. And I think it gets a bad rap. It looks fine. It looks okay. Actually, where you're looking on my screen is me covering a prototype. That's not what the final version of the game looks like. Some people think the prototype looks better. Some people think the final game looks better, but it doesn't matter. This is widely regarded as one of Feld's best games. And while I didn't like it originally, I like it a lot now. Some of the Feld City games, repurposing from by Queen Games, I have not liked as much as the original, but this one I think is a huge improvement, and I would never go back to Bruges when I could play Hamburg, number 54. And Jen is back. Let's see what's up. Okie doke. I've seen her in Jen's bed now. Let's look under mine. Maybe not quite as exciting, but there is definitely some stuff going on. Although a lot more empty space. But that's because we just don't want to mess with this space too terribly much. What have we got under here? Well, this is the nerve center of the caravan as it was originally built. If we look at it over here, from the front, you can see, circuit boards and, turning on and off when we're on shore power. When we're at a campsite and we've got a source of power other than what we carry with us, we can, be recharging the battery, running the space heater off electricity instead of gas. The same for the water heater, some more power breakers, system shutdown, all of that. So this is what came with the caravan, and back there is the bay where basically a car battery, what looks to anybody like a car battery would be, that actually runs the thing. Now, it'd normally be, it'd be an actual caravan battery, although I've replaced the one we had with an actual proper, what do you call it, lithium ion phosphate battery instead. I'll talk about the battery. I'll show you the battery whenever we do an outdoors thing, because I can't get to it in here. You can see I've had to drill some holes to be able to run some lines in there because I was not satisfied with what originally came with this thing. You remember, I already opened up here and looked down in there where there was the bus bar that was like where I've wired everything together, including the solar panels on the roof. We'll talk about that next, I guess. Yeah. We'll do the solar panels next by poking our head through that. And so the solar panels run down to the bus bar. That, our main battery, it is hooked in to the main power junction of this caravan. But in addition to that, it is hooked in, through the lines I've done to the bus bar that's on the other side of this wall. So that is how the solar from the controller that's in here. Did I show you the controller in there? There's a controller at the top that runs down to the bus bar. This runs to the bus bar. And so the solar will charge our main battery. This, I had to do all this myself. It took me forever to figure out. I'm very proud of it. It seems to be working okay. And so that's very, very nice. Let's see. But that's not all. Also connected to the bus bar is, gotta get really low. I don't know if you can see it. This is an inverter. It's a 200 watt inverter. No, 300 watt inverter, which is not very much. You can't run that microwave off of it. If we need actual AC power, instead of just, charging stuff like my, the little doodads over there that charge off DC power, if we need proper AC power, then what we do is we turn on this inverter and it provides up to 300 watts, converting. This thing draws power through the bus bar from the battery that's in there, in here, and then on the back, well, normally on the back is where the shoreline cable is that would provide power to everything. So basically, if we go to a campground, I unplug that inverter and plug in the actual main line so I could, plug into mains. But when we're out and about, it's this little inverter that runs things. That's the way it used to be when we first moved out. But the first time we went for a week with no sun, and suddenly this battery was not making it through the night for us, I thought, okay, it's time to have a backup. And that's what this thing is here. Bought it a couple of weeks ago. Let me see if I can, it's very heavy. It's an Alcatel. So this battery in here is a kilowatt. This is a kilowatt of power as well. And right now, because we are far away from actually being able to charge this thing other than the solar, I'm running a bunch of stuff off of this. And fortunately, I picked this one in large part because it would fit and I could actually close this down on top. A lot of these, they're bigger, when they're a kilowatt, they're bigger and they wouldn't have actually fit in here with all the other stuff, but this did fit quite nicely and it's working pretty well. You can see right now, I've got the main line not into the inverter, but into the Alcatel instead. So if we need to turn on all the outlets, I've got an app that lets me turn it on remotely, or I can just open this and push the button on it rather than having to mess with this inverter back there. Basically right now I'm still experimenting with how to use it to best effect. I'm finding that I'm pretty much using this, the original house battery, for if we do need to turn on the water pump or the interior lights and stuff like that. And I also, because there's another thing, right here is a Wi-Fi modem, and it's plugged into this special little device right there. This is a Starlink converter. Hi Daisy, hi Gert. Jen she's outside sitting reading a book, but the pups are happy to be here. So we are using Starlink as our primary source of internet, and it works great. But Starlink runs off AC power, and of course a caravan battery provides DC power. So I bought one of these Starlink conversion kits and installed it in here. And so this is wired to the bus bar as well via this little fuse right here. So I can turn on and off the Wi-Fi. You can see this is now waking up and it'll connect it. It's waking up the Starlink satellite dish outside. It's rotating around and whatnot. And when I'm done, we can just turn it off. Because Starlink probably pulls on average around 50 watts an hour. And again, this is a kilowatt, so we don't want to be wasteful. I mentioned right up front, we're trying to be very, very conservative, very careful with how we use our stuff, and that includes the electricity for internet. But so I'm pretty much using the main for the internet and for the lights and the water pump, and if we need to run outlets or if I need to recharge stuff, we're doing it off of this. Because the reason I got this is when this thing went empty, there was nothing we could do because the sun wasn't coming back. So we would have had to go and pay. Campgrounds are nice, but they're like anywhere from like 20 to 50 to like 150 bucks a night. And as I mentioned, we like wild camping. We're staying where we are for free. Most nights, 6 nights out of 7, 13 nights out of 14, we're staying someplace for free. And so we don't want to use campgrounds to have to recharge if the solar's failing. So the nice thing about having this as a backup, it's a handle. We just yesterday went into a wonderful restaurant in the town we're in, and I said, hi, while we're having lunch, could I just plug this into your wall and recharge it? It's a fast charge. It goes from 0 to 100% in like 45 minutes, and it's, a kilowatt. That's pretty good. And so we just charged it up, and so we're relying on this more and more. This is almost becoming the backup to this. I don't really have a good way to recharge this other than lifting it up, pulling it out, grabbing this power cable, and then going someplace, going to a grocery store and saying, hi, while we're shopping, can we just charge this? And they say, sure, that's fine. While we're at a restaurant, can we just charge this? They say, sure. I mean, it's like no different to them than plugging in a laptop or something like that. And so this has actually worked out pretty well. The two things seem to be combining, and I'm pretty happy with it overall. That's it in a nutshell. Oh, there's another controller there, which I had to install, to take care, because, this thing was originally wired for, lead acid batteries. And the way lead acid battery system recharges could be very, very rough on a lithium ion battery. So I had to install that controller as well, in addition to the solar controller that's inside there. And then those two controllers network with each other to try to optimize if I am getting exterior power. And because this thing can be wired to charge this and I can rewire so this thing charges this as well if I need to. So it gives me maximum flexibility. I can just pick up and go in the same way that if we're out of water, we can just take our water barrel into town and refill it. If we need to empty our chemical toilet, we can just take it into town and refill it. And if we're out of power, I can just take it into town and refill it. But then I've also got the hardline one, which pretty much, if I'm careful with it, it never goes dead. It's always there for us in the middle of the night. If something wakes us up and we need to turn on the lights and we need to deal with something right now, we don't want to mess around with having to turn this on. We just want it to work by hitting the button back up there. So that's it in a nutshell. And then there's that's our hot water heater. There's the water pump. There's the power line that connects to that power line and all the other stuff. And that's what's under mine. And a brief tour of the power situation and some pups who are going to make room for me while I talk about now, at last, number 53, founders of Teotihuacan, which is an excellent tile laying game, folks. Once again, I'm doing polyomino tile laying. I love them, love them, love them. What makes this one special? Well, it's themed after, the really super popular worker placement game, Teotihuacan, about, building this big, Teotihuacan, this famous pyramid in South America. But this game, other than the theme, is pretty radically different. And what makes it special, again, we're drafting polyomino tiles, trying to jigsaw puzzle them together in our own area, getting the right stuff next to the right stuff so we can harvest resources, so we can build more stuff, right? Typical Eurofare. What makes this stand out from a lot of other games that do the same stuff is the way the resources work. Because when I do an action that lets me harvest more resources, I don't just take them and put them off in my own personal supply off to the side of my board. I have to put them on my polyomino board. The same place where I'm trying to grab all these tiles and jigsaw puzzle them together so I can make the pyramid and whatnot. Whenever I generate more stone that I need, I've got to find spaces on my actual main board to store this stuff. And the stuff basically just populates the area around the immediate building that is represented by these polyomino pieces. So when I build these buildings with polyomino pieces, and then I run these buildings to get the resources to build more stuff, I fill up my board with stuff. And so that means things get tight very, very quickly. And in case you hadn't guessed, folks, I love a game that puts me in a noose, that puts me in a straitjacket and makes me come up with clever solutions to the problems that I created for myself. And, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like I said, Founders Teotihuacan has found a really unique way. Any other game would just say, yeah, you just hold stuff off the start, or maybe you have a thing where you can only hold 10. No, here, every time I generate the stuff I need, I am gobbling up the space that I need to build the stuff that I got the stuff for in the first place. And, balancing that is an excellent, I guess this is an idea that's similar to another game that you'll be seeing a little bit later on the countdown. Tiny Towns kind of does the same thing, but this one does it on a much bigger scale. Again, go check out my run through if you want to see it in action, why I rate it so highly over so many other tile layers that I've already talked about in this countdown series. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, remember the links you can watch run through. I'm sorry, I just realized I don't have a run through for Strange World Above the Clouds, which was what, number 57. So don't worry, you've already seen number 57 by now. I just want to say thank you to the other YouTube channel that I don't know who we're actually going to use. We're going to use somebody, maybe Board Game Circus, I'm not quite sure who. Somebody filmed this thing and we've used their video, so I want to give a shout out to them. There will be a link for their video down in the show notes on number 57. But anyway, folks, that was number 53, the founders of Teotihuacan. And we're getting close. What's number 52? I promised I was going to show you the solar, right? We're going to go up there. But before I do, I haven't talked about the windows, right? I mean, that's pretty straightforward, but I'm trying to be thorough. So here's Jen's window looking out at the canal. You just flip these open and out we come. We can, lock it in place so it stays open. And there are a lot of mosquitoes here. So if we do that, this is for nighttime, so no one can see us and we get privacy. But in the daytime, we can also just pull this down and it's a bug net. So we can have the windows open, we have a nice breeze coming through here. These are really nicely designed, I'm very happy with them. So other way, and every window has that double doer, including this one where, hey, we can open this and then there is the bug zone. Or if we don't want any light coming through, we can just black things out completely. But let's go upstairs, shall we? All right, so off we go. And I'm just gonna watch out, trying not to step on the dogs as I come up here and say, hi everybody. Hey, look, it's a solar panel. And there's another two there. There's one. And right, there's 5 of them in total. I don't know if you can see them all. Hi, there I am. Right, but these are the cheapest dang solar panels you've ever seen. They were 50 euros a piece, and they're working pretty great. I just, put them up here. We cleaned out the area, and we're holding them on with a Turnabond, and they seem to be holding great. We've just run all the wires over there to the hole that leads down into the, the closet that we started out showing you. It looks like some of the tape, like right there, it's starting to peel, so I need to get up here and take care of that. But everything's holding in place. We've had no issues with it while we're driving down the freeway. And yeah, it's keeping us fairly charged. So it's 550 watters, right? Or I'm sorry, no, 100 watters. So you think that means, oh my gosh, 500 watts of power. That would be great. You could completely charge your kilowatt battery in 2 hours. No, because again, they're cheap. Plus, the way they're all lying flat means they're not, ideally, you want a solar panel to be perpendicular to the rays of the sun for it to pull in maximum wattage. They are not, they're lying flat. And so with the sun, even at midday, it's coming in at a pretty harsh angle where we are in the world. These things, I think the most I've gotten out of them is maybe 50 watts. So I think I've seen it get up to almost 300 watts in like peak perfect condition. But most of the time in midday, they're pulling in between the 5 of them, probably around 150 watts, which is still fine. And maybe they would do better if I'd gotten some more expensive ones. Maybe they would do better if we'd get up there and clean them off, because you saw they were very dusty, and that apparently, affects their throughput by like upwards of 10% is what I've read. And it's on our list of things to do, to get up there and clean them off, because they're pretty dusty. And of course, there are those, there's all the ceiling openings that do cast shadows on them. So based on the time of day, not all we're going to be working at 100% because there's shadows up there and all that. But at the end of the day, it does work. As long as we get sun, and that's what we're doing. We left Germany because there was no sun. We were in the center of France. There was no sun. We are now in the south of France. We're just outside of Carcassonne. We're going into Carcassonne tomorrow or Tuesday. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, Tuesday, I think. But anyway, and we're done. After we're done with Carcassonne, we're heading to Spain. We're heading to Barcelona. We're going to go hang out with Danny Garcia. And then we're heading down to the center of Spain, to the high desert. It'll be like we're back in Mexico is what we're hoping. And then we're going to make it all the way over to Portugal, and we're going to hang out with Paulo, my goof checking guy, because he lives in Portugal. And then we will get on a ferry in Bilbao, Spain, to go right back to Ireland in the middle of December. So, I think the final one or two of these are not going to be filmed on the road. They're going to be filmed back home if my timing is correct. I figured everything out. So anyway, though, that was all very exciting, right? But what about the games, right? You've been very patient. Number 52, which, by the way, I've just been writing down here because I can't remember. This is too much information. Number 52 is Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road. Another one you've probably never heard of, and that's a real shame because this one is something special. It's basically 3 parallel simultaneous deck builders at the same time. We are merchants, on Kashgar, in the city of Kashgar, on the Silk Road, harvesting resources to sell, resources to get points, to convert into resources to get points, all the kind of stuff. We've got different, like I said, we've got 3 decks, but these decks aren't just like, stacked up. The decks are kind of splayed out. So I can see all the cards in a given deck, and whatever is at the bottom, at the top of this splayed series, it's on screen, is what I'm saying. That's the card that's going to activate. And when I activate that card, I take that card and I tuck it at the top of the splay so it goes away, and I won't see it. I won't get to activate that card again for a while. Not until it works all the way through the conveyor belt of cards. And so I can see once I activate this card, I know what next card is going to be available on that deck of cards as I work my way through it. And the key to winning this game is to get your decks in sync with each other so that when a particular action that generates stuff comes up, it's at the same time that the other card that uses the stuff so that I can get a combo out of them. So I might run through a few cards I don't care about just to get this deck queued up so it's ready to produce this other deck so they can combo well together. And it's super duper cool. Triple, and then of course it's a deck builder as well, so I'm getting more cards and I have to slip them in at the top, and it takes a while for them to work their way through, and you're doing all kinds of stuff. I think you're doing some network route building and goods conversion and objective completion, all the kind of good Euro-y stuff you come to expect. But what's really special is 3 decks, building them all simultaneously, trying to get them to synchronize with each other, and they all are functional conveyor belts. That's speaking my language, which is why Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road, comes in at number 52. And again, another hard one to find, I'm afraid, folks. Okay, folks, we're almost to the end, and it just occurred to me that selfie that I was talking about before, it's a tripod too. So why haven't I been using that? Well, I need to use it now because I need to show you how this works. I already talked about the projector, right? Here's the screen. You will notice it's got Velcro on it, it lives in here kind of tucked behind. Remember there was that big container with all the clothes? Tucked behind it, stuck onto a wall as this because I don't want it falling over. But anyway, when we've had a long day and we are just ready to relax in the evening, we take this, we open it up. Oh, I unlock it. We open it up. And then one side goes on here, the other side, there's a little bit of Velcro right here. And you'll notice there's Velcro on that door, that little black spot. So we just go like this, and boom, in position. We now have a movie screen to project this thing onto. Oh, should I actually do it? This is obviously better at nighttime. Tell you what, let's go on ahead and do it right now. There we are with some Last Jedi action, which everybody knows is the greatest Star Wars of all time, in my opinion anyway. And it's just lovely to be able to set it up. And here we are in the dark, the projector. I think you can barely see it, but this is not particularly good looking because, of course, I'm filming this. I've shut all of the curtains so you can see how dark it gets in there. Isn't it? Oh, you can't even see Daisy right there. But if you were here in person, this looks flawless. I think this screen is a 55-inch, either 52 or 55, which, considering how close we're sitting to it because of the shape of this room, works very, very nicely. And yeah, also the speakers that come on this thing are phenomenal. We've actually used this outside and it has an outdoor mode. It feels like we're in like again, a theater stadium. But absolutely love it. This is the only way to travel. I've seen other people in caravans with tiny little TVs, or they watch stuff on their laptops. Not us. We get the big screen experience every night. Okay. And here's some light, and there's Daisy, and there's Jen's knees as she's getting ready for dinner. And I've got one more to tell you about, folks. It is number 51, Galileo Project. Another one you've probably never heard of. In fact, actually, I saw Galileo Project. Boy, I'm actually completely blowing things out here. If I go back over to the other way. And in fact, actually, the projector does not need to stay on anymore. Let's just, boom, that's as easy as it is to shut off. And right, so Galileo Project, I saw it like on clearance sale at Spiel in a bargain basement bin, and that's crazy. It's one of the top 100 games of all time. Don't you folks know that? What is it about? We are basically trying to build up industry on, I forget, it's either the moons of Saturn or Jupiter. I don't remember which one, but the gameplay is super silky smooth and fast. On your turn, you're just going to draft a card, which either represents recruiting personnel or robots, or I forget what the third thing is, but basically you grab a card and you put it to work in one of the 4 moons that we are working in. And basically each one of these moons represents a different engine that we are trying to get to work together in synchronicity, so that the engine I built over here with my automated robots that are run by the personnel I've hired will coincide and produce the stuff that this other one needs, so you get just-in-time production methodology. It's absolutely excellent. But what really makes this one special is the drafting, specifically the hiring of new people, because every person you hire is a multi-use card. They have a different function depending on whether you put them to work on different planets or whether you hire them at different planets. And that really elevates the experience. The gameplay is super silky smooth. Like I said, a typical turn is just draft a card and put it into play in the appropriate location. And each of the 4 moons represents a progress track. And as the game goes on, and I'm sure James is putting a video on screen a little bit later in the video where you can see Shay, who did the run through on the channel. Man, I like this game so much, I think I filmed the final thoughts with him just based on watching his run-through, even though I'd never played the game before. And when I finally got my hands on it, I kind of ripped it from Shay's hands to be able to get my hands on it. I fell in love with it too. Again, I think probably the greatest strength is, in contrast to some of the other stuff I talked about today, it is an incredibly fast-playing game. It just zips along. You're going to get a full experience in under an hour. And I've seen some people complain that, the game is over too soon. But I say this is a game that doesn't overstay its welcome. It does what it sets out to do brilliantly with your 4 different simultaneous engines that you're building up with multi-use cards that is just full of tough choices from start to finish. It's a phenomenal game that very few people have ever heard of, and you can apparently find in bargain basement bins. Number 51, Galileo Project. And that's it, folks. Oh, I just realized I opened the window, but I left this open so bugs can get in. Let's just go on ahead and close this. And let's open back up, because it's actually still daytime. It's still sunny out. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit better. Hi, Gert. Oh, I'm sorry. We're wrapping up. And that's another top 10. Once again, folks, I ask you, did I go into too much detail? When I asked last time, everybody said, no, you can't do too much detail. Did I prove you wrong when you said that? And again, my apologies, people don't want to hear all that stuff. Hopefully you were able just to skip right to the games without too much trouble. Next week we'll be back, and I don't know where we'll be. We'll have put Carcassonne in the rearview mirror. Maybe we'll finally be in Spain. Maybe we'll be in Barcelona. I don't know. But the next thing to hit, well, again, I asked you before, I got to ask again. Do you want to see a deep dive on how we've got our car set up for caravan touring? And do you want a trip through the bathroom? Because I'll go into detail, folks. I'll go into gory detail. Let's just say. I will. My wife is shouting, bring on the gory detail. No. Oh, no, she says, don't bring on the gory detail.
Avoid the gory
detail. Avoid the gory detail, because I don't know what the rules are, but Jen says, I should not demonstrate how to properly empty a chemical toilet. I've never seen anybody do it. I always see people do it with they put some blue fluid or something like that. No, I'll show you the brown fluid. But I don't know, maybe that breaks rules on. But anyway, you folks let me know what you thought. And if you played any of these games, what are your favorite games of all time? You know how it works, folks. Like and subscribe and comment and all of that stuff for the algorithm. For the algorithm. And I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Jen, or not Jen. Thanks to James, thanks to Jen too, and Daisy and Gertrude for putting up with all of this, but mostly thanks to James for putting this all together somehow. See you next week, folks. Talk to you later. Click a thing. So many things to click. Clickety click, click, click. You know, click. Click.